Welcome back to the expansion of consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock. And guys, this is where we dive deep into the mind, exploring ideas, spiritual curiosities, and the hidden dimensions of our everyday life. And you know what we do in this show? We do what we like. We understand the differences between what's happening in the spiritual realm and what's going on here in this third dimensional construct. This is season 6. And we're on the 5th show, and I am happy to have been here this long with you guys, continuing to bring you more interesting topics and people who have different opinions than maybe my own. We have to listen and learn and expand our consciousness to a number of things. And that's why I'm thrilled to welcome today's guests, Will and Karen Rodriguez, the co-creators of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Together, they've navigated spiritual awakenings, energy healings, psychic phenomena, and a whole lot more, and all while keeping a healthy dose of weight and what. And let's talk about Will first up. He's a former New York pragmatist who refused to accept secondhand stories about the spiritual world. He was determined to find the proof for himself, and he joined a coven, experimented with healing modalities, and conducted over 130 deep dive conversations on metaphysical topics. And through it all, Will discovered that genuine evidence of consciousness transcends institutions and the dogma. And today, he brings his analytical engineering mind and the playful skepticism to every discussion, shining a light on extraordinary experiences without losing touch of reality. And alongside him, he's Karen. She's a natural empath and intuitive, and we love intuitives on this show, who guides and balances Will's wide-eyed curiosity with practical insight. And grounded, yet she's open-hearted, and she translates lofty metaphysical concepts into actionable wisdom. Whether Karen's discussing energy healing, manifestation, or near-death phenomena, Karen creates a safe, entertaining space for exploration, encouraging all of us to reconnect to our infinite potential. And so today, Karen and Will, we're going to ask them questions. We're going to make no assumptions, but we're going to expand our awareness and remind who we are and truly what we can become. We're going to go ahead and dive in. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Karen and Will. Hello there, good people. How are you today?
Hello.
We're doing well. How are you?
Awesome. I told you I was going to say some good things about you.
Wow.
But we didn't know how good of the
And
things.
between that and the open, I feel like we should fly in with our capes. Hello,
I know.
good people. Wow.
You practice after 6 seasons of this, and just getting used to, understanding how to make this thing exciting, but also for the guests that we have, for the people who are curious, who may not be as well traveled in their spirituality. And I love bringing new guests on, people who can challenge the thought process of others. And this is what it's all about, And I made a statement for the greater good of all. And this is what it's about, the greater good of all.
It's great. My only worry now is having to live up to all the good things you said about us.
I
know. So fingers crossed.
It's like, who are you talking about?
Exactly. And I talked about modalities, and we all work in these different modalities, and we're going to get to that. But first, I just kind of want to let's go backwards before we start to talk this heavy talk. And guys, what prompted you both to embark on this journey from the skeptics to the spiritual entrepreneurs that you are right now? And ultimately, you created NewReality TV. What happened with that?
Wow, it was a very fun, long, unexpected journey, doing things we never thought we would do before. But when the universe knows where it wants you to be, it sets the path for you, and all you have to do is follow. So really, I got to let Will kind of start out with the story. It started out with him.
Well, you mentioned I grew up in the New York area, and I will say I'm a skeptic. I'm not a cynic, right? So I've always wanted to believe this stuff was real. I've wanted to astral project my whole life. I wanted to see UFOs. I wanted to communicate with spirits. I wanted to do all that stuff. I wanted it to be real. But maybe because of where I grew up, a lot of people were saying things that weren't really what they were meaning, and you learn to develop a thick skin. So you look behind the words, you try to ascertain pragmatically what resonates with you and what doesn't. So I did a bit of a research, like you mentioned in the open. I joined the coven. I was taught in energy healing modalities, things like that. But really looking for that three-dimensional piece, something I could touch, I could smell, I could taste, something I knew for sure proved that this other thing was real. And I very elusive. I didn't quite find it. Life got in the way. Fast forward several years, and I had a family, I have a career, and during COVID, like everyone else, I had a moment of holy crap, right? Looked myself in the mirror, didn't like who I was at all, had an existential crisis. I dove into anxiety, depression. Sorry?
Anger.
Oh, yeah, it was, but yeah, I was very angry. But then I went to therapy, took 8 weeks off of work, went to therapy. I was blessed to have found a therapist right off the bat who was great and who turned me onto meditation. And during meditation, I started, I took to it very quickly because I had done it before, but not as regularly as I'm doing it now. But during meditation, in a time where I was so raw and so willing to really look and see what was going on, it opened up all kinds of things for me. And so I started having conversations with people that I knew back in the day and recording them and putting them out there as the first few episodes of the Skeptic Metaphysicians, where we explore these things in a selfish way. I wanted to learn who I was, where I was going, why I was here, those big questions. And then that's where the show was born, because I needed to find out these answers for myself. So it's purely a selfish reason, really.
Wow.
And then probably about a year or so later, I roped the lovely Karen in on this, and the show's gotten way better since then, because now we present two different perspectives, right? I'm the pragmatist who asks, have you been drinking when this happened? And she's the one who says,
what did it feel like?
Right. Right.
Also, another thing that a lot of our audience doesn't know is that when we have a guest come on, Will researches them. He checks out all their information, prepares questions. When I come to the interview, I don't even know who we're interviewing. So I'm completely blind. So it's kind of more of the perspective of the audience. So we have those two perspectives as well.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It's fascinating to hear the story on how it all began, maybe with that doubt. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, there was a time where we were actually going to shut it down because, with podcasts, it takes a lot of work. You're finding guests, you're producing, you're editing, you're uploading constantly, marketing. And it was taking so much time away from our family time because, we have full-time jobs, and he was doing all the work. And it got to the point where we're like, okay, you've got what you needed out of this. You feel more healed. It's time to sunset this and, move on. So literally the night that we had made that decision, I thought, well, let's just Google it and see if anybody even knows we exist. So I Googled it, and we didn't know, we weren't real podcasters at that point. So we had no idea that there was an Apple podcast that had like all these reviews. And there were just page after page of these wonderful 5-star reviews. People had taken time to write paragraphs about our show. We had no idea these existed. And as we were reading through, the last one that we read literally said, "Thank you so much for helping me feel normal."
Oh.
And we're like, well, we can't quit. If we're helping one person to feel better on their journey, to feel, less ostracized, to know that there are more people like them out, we can't quit. So luckily, or not luckily, divinely, the universe put right into our laps some incredible software that literally cut his editing time down, by 2/3?
About that, yeah.
And saved so much time that we were able to do both.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Hey, Will, can you walk us through that initial spark, curiosity that made you question your own skepticism?
Sure. You talk about the crisis that I went through?
but just a skepticism about metaphysical things, just the whole spiritual aspect,
Like the New Yorkers.
that initial spark of curiosity to say, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Well, to do that, we've got to go way back because though I was raised Catholic, my mother was always a seeker. She had all the Carlos Castaneda books. And if you don't know who that is, it's an anthropologist who did a deep dive into the Yaqui Indians in South America. They did a lot of plant medicines. They did a lot of very mystical things. And his books explored the time that he spent with one of the guides, one of the teachers in that space. And she had all the books. And, one day I just started going through and kind of thumbing through them, and she saw me and freaked out. So, no, you're not ready for those yet. So, of course, the minute I got old enough, I went out and got the entire series of books and read them all, because there must be something in there that my mother does not want me to read. I need to find out what that is. And those books actually are what made me go, wait a second, is this stuff real? Because if it's real, that's amazing, right? So he was talking shape shifting and bilocation and all these kinds of things that make me go, wow. So I was enamored with the wowness of it all, right? The superpowers. I picked up Robert Monroe's book, Journeys Out of the Body, and I actively tried hard to astral project. I went to a metaphysical bookstore and got books on Reiki energy and Brian Weiss's, it was actually Raymond Moody's book of Life After Life, I believe it is. It's about reincarnation, and then Brian Weiss's book about life after death. I mean, Many Lives, Many Masters. And then the big book was Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. Wow. And that book, I mean, I read Way of the Peaceful Warrior and The Celestine Prophecy. Like I was devouring everything I could get my hands on at that time. But Conversations with God was the one book that I was carrying around with me for so long, and I didn't really get into it because it had the word God in it. And because of my experience as a recovering Catholic, the fact of God being in the title of the book made me turned me off to it. But then when I had my crisis, I ended up going back and revisiting that book, and it changed everything. Kicking myself for allowing one word to get in the way of my exploration, because that book is the one thing that probably turned me onto this path in such a profound way, because the words in it explained everything that I had been asking about but couldn't get the answers to. That book helped.
And just for the audience to follow what Will has said, that's the same journey that I took. Mine was more like in church, 9 years old. We're standing up, we're praying, we're sitting down, we're praying. The money tray passes, and okay. And I'm like, well, where is God at? Where is he? I'm a Methodist, and I was like young and just wondering there had to be more. So when you talked about that, the books that you started reading initially, my book was the encyclopedia. You guys remember the encyclopedias, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go and look at all the solar system, I'm like, well, wait a minute. They're not talking about the solar system in church. And I kept that burning desire to know more until I found The Secret.
Oh, yeah.
I started to really understand what metaphysics was and the law of attraction. And Will, I got to tell you, Dolores Cannon, Convoluted Universe, Dr. Bob Monroe, Four Journeys, and all of that. And just like you, I'm trying to astral project. I'm trying, like, can I do this? But then I read the Astral Projection Handbook by Aaron Pablin.
I have it.
Okay. Now let's talk about the experience, Will, because I'm on YouTube trying to get to the Akashic records, and I'm going through all this meditation. I'm going through all these things, trying to, okay, I'm in spirituality now. I'm getting ready to do this stuff. And it was a month that had passed by, and there's still no luck. So I said, well, let me just try to go to the Akashic records. that one night, and this is YouTube, I've read all these books. I knew the techniques. I knew the roll method. I knew the rope method. I knew all those methods. And that night, I am listening to the Akashic records. I'm laying in the bed. And then the vibration starts. And I said, okay, I freaked out at first. I hit myself because I was like, I woke up. I thought something was on me. And I said, Jesus, those were the vibrations. So I got back calm. The vibration starts again. And this time, I remember Dr. Monroe said that they start at the ankle and leg. They start to move around in the body. And I said, just be calm. And I just stayed there and I welcomed it. And I started to say the affirmation of I'm a multi-dimensional being that has experienced travel. And I want to meet beings of wisdom, beings of love, so that I can learn more to advance my path of incarnation here on earth. And I kept going through this motion, and then all of a sudden, Will and Karen, it was like a lawnmower. Boom. And when a lawnmower starts to run, that's what you feel. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm out of the body in the corner of the ceiling looking down. And I write about this experience in my book. It's a bestseller on Amazon, Empowered by Consciousness. And I'm looking down and I'm trying to swim, Will, to get back to the body. And I forgot, okay, you can't do physical motions when you're out of the body because you're non-physical. So I have to think being on the floor. So I said, floor, and I was at the floor. Then I said, other side of the door. Just I was thinking it, other side of the door. And Bob Monroe always said to get back in the body and write down exactly what happened so you can verify that it wasn't a lucid dream. And so I went into the bedroom with my son. He was laying at the foot of the bed on his iPad. Then I went into the second bedroom with my son. He had the covers over his head with the cell phone. I could see the light. Then I went back into the body. I waited until the next day. I went into the first room. Hey, were you up? What time? I asked him, what, Dad, why are you asking me all this? Just tell me, were you up and what were you doing, please? I was up. I was on my iPad. I said, what else? What direction? I was laying at the foot of the bed. Thank you. That's all I need to know. Went to the other room. What were you doing at this time? He told me. I said, so what else did you do? He said, I got up and used the bathroom. What else did you do? I got back in the bed. What else did you do? You can't let them know.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you can't validate the experience.
Right.
So he told me that I got back in the bed. I got on my cell phone. I said, how? Oh, Dad, what? How? Just tell me. I'm trying to do an experiment. He said, I was under the cover. Got it.
Yeah.
And that's how I validated the experience. And then the next time I did it, I was on top of the house. And then I was going downtown Houston. So I resonate with you. I started to do all these things to try to make sure I could validate if I was going to come on a podcast and talk when I first started it. But I definitely, I'm with you, brother. And your story is similar, if not dang near alike, than mine as well.
There's one glaring difference between yours and mine.
Okay.
You got out of your body. I'm still trying, and I don't feel those vibrations. I haven't been able to get out of my body yet.
Well, I have felt them. I've woken up and the bed was shaking so hard, and
Yes.
it was from you. It wasn't from me.
Right. So I've had
You slept through it.
Right. So that's the thing. I don't have a consciousness. I mean, a conscious awareness of having left my body. Apparently, I must have. If you felt the vibrations, I must have left my body, but I don't remember
Or
it.
maybe you were starting to, but you were too tired because you never woke up.
Maybe.
You know what? Before the audience, it took me a while. I mean, it took me a while. But what I learned was the more you begin to eat differently and put more superfoods into your body, and the more you practice your spirituality, looking into the candle, practicing this white light within the body that fills the body with white light to raise the vibration. And then I got more into transcendental meditation, and the more at peace and calmness that I practice meditating 12 minutes. I started off with guided meditation, and then I moved more towards my own meditation. I didn't need to be guided anymore in this deep peace that I kept experiencing twice a day in transcendental meditation. And the more I practiced that, then all of a sudden it happened. And then I stopped practicing it as much. I couldn't do it. And I went back to just this piece to lay still while the body is asleep, but the mind is awake.
Right.
And I kept practicing and I started to say, oh, this is the key, this stillness, this peace, this lightness of the body. So, hey, it was interesting. And, for anybody who's listening, try that.
Well, let me ask you a question though. Like when you're just lying there and you're feeling the peace, and how quickly do you fall asleep? Because it takes me all of 12 seconds to fall.
It's like 2.5.
And that's a problem because from hearing, I need to be in the hypnagogic state to be able to get to that point. But that in that hypnagogic state is like right between the time when you're awake and asleep. So that gap has to be wide enough that you can actually that you can actually get out of your body. And for me, my gap is,
I mean, he'll fall asleep before I say his name, and it's only one syllable. So it's like, out.
That's the same thing I ran into is practice. And the more you practice, the longer you can keep your awareness. And that's one of the things that stopped me, because I would be asleep before I even got into trying to project.
That was me. That is me.
Yes, but I kept practicing how to have the body be in a sort of a somnambulistic state. It's a deep state of beta, brainwave state, but the mind is alert. So I just kept practicing this transcendental, moving into 3 minutes and then 7 minutes, because TM is 20 minutes twice a day. I got up to around 17 minutes, and before I knew it, I knew when I was going to transcend into this deep state of relaxation. And I was good at it. And the better I got at it, I could just wait on the vibrations. I could wait. So really, to answer your question, it's more of just practicing how to be still and comfortable, because the conscious mind will always interfere, scratching, rubbing, moving, coughing, because it does not want you to experience that level of peace and relaxation. So practice was what I had to do before, over right at a month and a week, it finally happened for me.
All right. So you and I are going to have to talk offline, because I've been practicing for 4 years and I'm still not. But yeah, all that happens with me when I practice is I just get more time to sleep.
But
I'll start poking you. Wake up.
Yeah.
So Karen, this reality TV thing, how did it evolve into this hub for seekers and for teachers and for content creators? And I know that you probably, or you saw this gap, okay, in the marketplace, that maybe there was this space for this kind of thing. How did all that evolve?
Well, it started with our podcast. And
Yes.
like I told you about that review. And then we started finding that a lot. We started finding a lot of people saying, I listened to you before I go to work. You helped me realize I'm not the only one out there, and I can't talk to my friends, so I can listen to you guys. So we kept hearing that. We thought, okay, well, let's make our podcast maybe a video version. Maybe we can, I don't know, we put it on YouTube, get a little more reach, because people are needing these messages. Now, again, we're not the experts in anything. We interview people. We ask the questions. So we were really surprised to find out that our little podcast was helping people. But we started realizing through these interviews, that these hundreds of interviews that we've done, everyone's message, although it might have been a different language, different modality, different mindset even, it was all about love. It was about love, connection, light, raising vibrations. Everyone that we interviewed wants to help.
Yes.
And so it's like everyone's holding their little candle out in the darkness, trying to light the path for someone. But one little candle just makes a little flicker, and you can't really illuminate with that. So we thought, if we gather all of these candles together, and we'll create this big, bright, beautiful beacon that can't help but light, shine a bright light through the darkness, and people will come. And so that's what we decided with NewReality. We started reaching out to people that we had interviewed and asking them if they would be interested in creating content in a video format, so that we could spread these messages just exponentially. And so now we launched in January. So we're about 6 months old, just not quite, well, just barely.
Actually, exactly. January 6th.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're 6 months old. Yay.
Yeah.
And we currently have, I think, 43 different shows on there. We've got over 40 content partners. We have another 15 or so that are currently creating new content.
That is awesome. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, we have, we try to capture, everyone's, I guess, sweet spot of what and when they can view. So we have a section of shorts. If you only have 5-10 minutes, you can pop on there and just get a quick little nugget. We have movies, we have documentaries, we have a 24-hour, 24/7 international broadcast. So whenever you get on there, you can click on that and you can see one of the shows. And then we have the streaming platform. And so we have content partners that go live on that broadcast 5 days a week. And we have so many different modalities. Will says that this selfishly, we created this for us. But we kind of did. No, but everyone that has joined has just the biggest hearts. And these messages are beautiful. And we have people that are, we have a Norse shaman. We have a Tibetan, Thai Buddhist monk.
Oh, yeah.
We have someone who looks through your eyes to find your ancestors. We have different shaman, channelers, mediums, astrologists, hand analysts, you name it, we have them, because we thought all of these people are saying the same thing essentially, but it's going to resonate with different people. So you might come on and say, well, I don't really believe 100% in astrology, but I like mediums. Oh, well, we've got that for you too. So we really try to put these messages of love, light, and hope in as many ways possible out there for people to consume, because we think it's going to hit, someone that needs to hear this message is going to find it in a way that really resonates with them. Yeah.
And we're firm believers of one truth, many paths. And so, as Karen was mentioning, this is our attempt at having as many paths as possible there, so people can explore them. So by trade, we're in television. That's what we do for our day jobs. So it was a natural transition to create something like this, that we can get these messages out. But it goes so much further than that, because it's really about helping people raise the consciousness of the planet. I'll tell you, for me, it was a little bit of a selfish thing at the time. I mentioned the show. Our show is very different. We're irreverent. We laugh a lot. We talk about the topics in a very lighthearted way, but still get a really strong message out. Because of that, maybe 3 or so years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And because our show is kind of on a light end, we didn't really talk about it on the show. But inevitably, we would have people who are healers or things like that on the show. And afterwards, we would talk, and somehow it would come out that I was diagnosed. And every single person that came on our show that was a healer of any type all asked, please let me work on you. They didn't charge me anything. They just wanted to help. And so we're doing this thing where it's active surveillance. So we go for a year, we just watch it. We take blood to make sure my numbers are okay. At the end of the year, we'll do a second biopsy to make sure that
MRI first,
that we're still seeing it, right? So when I first got diagnosed, we went to a second doctor to confirm it, because we didn't want to just, again, pragmatic. I can't take anything just at face value. I need to make sure someone else tells me, yep, you indeed have cancer. So we got it verified by two different world-renowned doctor. It was the second one. So for the year that we were watching it, all of these people that we would have on the show would graciously donate their time to work on me in whatever fashion. Sometimes these things,
it was all remote.
All remote healings. They went sometimes for hours at a time. It was unbelievably selfless. At the end of the year, we did an MRI, and we saw that there were some spots. It looked like it was getting worse. So they decided to do 18 different needle hits on my on the areas that they saw of trouble. And when I got the lab results back, I was shaken to the point where I couldn't read the results well. I had to go. We were in the office. We're in the studio. I went to Karen and said, I can't. Can you please read this and tell me if I'm seeing this correctly? Because I can't be. And as she's looking at it, she read out one by one all 18 cores, benign, 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 benign. It was gone. Yeah. It was gone. So after that, my doctor wanted to cancel my follow-up because actually their words were, in light of your recent results, we're going to just cancel your appointment because there's no need for, no, I need the doctor. Look me in the eye and tell me where this thing went, because I got it confirmed by 2 different world-renowned doctors that this was there. Where did it go? So we went to the doctor's office. She looked me in the eye and said, look, I can't explain it. Camera was right next to me. So it's not just me saying stories, right? She was right next to me. Said, I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that you never have to worry about this again.
Wow.
That was life-changing. If I was ever looking for that physical proof, that tangible proof that we are more than this 3-dimensional world, I 100% got it in that exact moment. It completely changed my life.
Yeah, he didn't take a pill. He didn't do a treatment. Nothing.
Nothing. We did nothing. And somehow this thing was gone. Somewhere along the line in that year, I don't know who it was. I don't know if a combination of all of them working on me. I don't know what it was, Jason, but something took this thing away from me. And and so we went back to these people when we were creating NewReality TV and said, we've got to, whatever it is that you're doing, we have to get it out there. Because if it took my cancer away, what's it going to do for the world? We've got to get these messages out. So it goes beyond finding your path. It goes to the point where Karen and I we're trying to change the world by putting a platform out there to introduce these things, these concepts, these people to the world, because this has been life-altering for me.
And we do interview each and every single content partner. We get to know them well, know what their practice is, know what their personality is, and know what their purpose is, because that's very important. We don't want to put someone who just wants to get up there and sell their books.
Right.
That's not what this is about, because there are people that are like that. In fact, we recently, maybe a month or 2 ago, decided to do a summit because we thought, well, they've been working so hard. We haven't launched the subscription base yet. So let's maybe do a summit. We can charge for that and get a little money in their pockets for all the work that they're doing. So we talked to them about that, and they were like, why don't we just do it for free? We're like, great. I mean, that's the kind of people they are. Every single one of them. We had a 2-day full 9 to 8 both days summit with these people come in and showing up and teaching and helping and healing. It was amazing. And they didn't ask for a dime. They didn't want it.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so it's a labor of love for sure. But it goes well beyond that. The fact is that this, you mentioned earlier that we noticed a gap or something that was missing in the world. What we noticed was a tremendous amount of fear that's being bombarded. I mean, it's everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's fear everywhere. Algorithms are rewarding that fear, right? The clickbait, you need to go down the rabbit hole. So you keep getting, going to YouTube, and it's a great platform, but you might be served something that doesn't quite resonate with you. Gaia is a wonderful platform as well. And there's a lot of content on there that's really great, but there's some stuff on there that's really kind of designed to elicit a fear response, and that doesn't resonate with us.
Well, then how do you maintain authenticity and that depth in the landscape that's often dominated by viral trends and just quick little videos? How do you keep your channel, authentic?
Yeah. So the authenticity is in, we don't not talk about topics. We dive into shadow work. We dive into the dark side of things, but it's always in the interest of helping, of getting over, of becoming better, of finding a way through the darkness. Not about, hey, there's a demonic entity that's going to take you over, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. When you talked about the doctors, I mean, I'm not surprised that medical science would classify your case as, we just don't know.
Yeah.
However, being a level 2 quantum hypnotist under the school of Dolores Cannon, these things are what we do every day when we see our clients. And the cancer reminds me of a book that's written by Julia Cannon. And what we've done as quantum healing hypnotists We have a forum of thousands of QHHT practitioners that are all over the world, and we go in and we look for different sessions and what happened here and what happened there. And the book is called Speak Now. And we can categorize if we were working with a patient with cancer, if we were working with a patient with heart, if we had a patient that had something going on with the knee or the elbow or whatever the case may be, we could always explain, why did it manifest? Why do we have this cancer here? And it always came back with hate of something, hate of self, hate of others, which we're not given this information. Our clients are given this information once we move them to this deep somnambulistic state where we directly ask questions of the higher self in the subconscious mind. And one of the things that Dolores Cannon, who rest her soul, she's passed, that she taught us when we look at the videos and we do our training, is that if you cut your hand, then the brain sends a signal to the cells, and the cells respond in antibiotics to that area, and the hand is healed in a number of days without any neosporin or without anything. But who told the brain to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the consciousness, the higher self, which our consciousness is not local, it's being beamed in from a higher place, but who told it to do that? So that when we regress people with regression therapy and move them to the deep somnambulistic state so that we can ask questions to help the client, we have all these responses that are in a database, and we ask, Johnny has a heart disease. Why have you chosen for him to experience this in this lifetime? And sometimes we can clear it. We can ask for the healing right then and there. And then the spirit may respond to us on audio tape that we have mic'd up to the client. Johnny wanted to experience this so that people around him would understand compassion. This is something that he wanted to do prior to incarnating in this third dimension. We cannot heal him now because this is a lesson that he wants others to learn. But in other cases, Johnny has learned the lesson of empathy. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here. And we can now heal him. Well, how are we going to do it? We'll use light. Well, what will light do? Light heals everything. But these are some of the conversations that we have when we have these kind of healings. And Dolores has healed many, along with other practitioners across the world, many patients with cancer. And I had one lady in particular, I had my first experience with a cancer patient. Now, she had already had chemo. She was sort of at the ending of her life. And these women brought her to me and said, Jason, we've seen some of your work and we've seen some things that you could do. Can this method help our friend? So I regressed her into a few different lifetimes, and I spoke to her before we started, and she was good spirit and good energy. But when I regressed her, she all of a sudden became a Louisianan Creole woman. She was talking, she was, who are you? What do you want with me? She had moved into a different life. And we were trying to figure out from her higher self, can we heal her from this cancer? We don't have enough water in the body. And I said, well, why? You can heal anything. Dolores has taught us that the higher self can do anything that it wants because you take care of this young lady and you do a great job at it. Why can't you heal her? She doesn't have enough water in the body. We will try. She knows this. Fast forward, when I get her out and I bring her up and I step outside and speak to the ladies, I said, listen, her higher self came through clear as a bell and said that she didn't have any water in her body or they could have healed her. They broke out crying. Well, I'm like, what? Tell me what that means. Tell me, God, what is this? Jason, for the last 2 weeks, we can't get her to drink water. And you say this. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Whoa. So anyway, I don't want to slow the conversation down, but this healing that you receive is the higher self.
Right.
And people that are connecting to your higher self and you in your own mind were probably saying, heal me, allow others to heal me. And the higher self can do anything and can cure any illness, any mental illness that you may have. I'm just so glad that your belief system allowed it. And that's what's one of the wonderful things about being a practitioner. There's just so many beautiful people out here that don't want a lot of money, but they just do it. I'm gonna say this term again, for the greater good all.
Right. Right. And yeah, I was saying, please heal me way more than just subconsciously. I was like, God, please heal me. But the interesting thing is what you mentioned there is that my willingness to heal myself, my willingness to believe that it could happen. I don't know that my conscious mind was 100% there. This was a way for my subconscious mind to show me, yeah, this is possible. In that, I mean, I've been searching for the proof for a long time, and this was the universe said, okay, all right, we're going to scare the pants out of you, and then we're going to heal you. How about that for proof, buddy?
Listen,
I got it.
Karen, Will, the subconscious mind can do a lot. And it's just not healing. I'm a scientific remote viewer and an associate remote viewer. And learning how to use the subconscious mind to move it to different places, to identify unknown objects in scientific remote viewing. When I was taught by Tony Sivalele, I'm like, how am I able to do this? He has these photos. I don't know what they are. And there's only coordinates. There's only numbers. And we use the subconscious to feel around. And again, we talked about out-of-body experiences, but this all goes back to the power of meditation and how you can move yourself to this quiet, peaceful state over and over and over and over and over. And that directly helped me become a very good scientific remote viewer, to be able to pick things out that I didn't know what they were. I got a few shows where I have ladies on my show that they don't know anything about this stuff, and they're practicing it, and they're getting some of the pictures correct, or they're getting some of the characteristics of it correct. And it's the subconscious is a fascinating thing. But we could go off into a rabbit hole. But go ahead.
But there's so much so that the CIA used it. Right, Project Stargate, they explored it, and there's talk that they're still using it, but they're just not being honest about it, right? So it's interesting. This stuff it's hard to wrap your head around until you bring the scientific into it, right? The quantum physics into it, because now with the advent of quantum physics, it's opened up the doors to people like me who before weren't willing to look at it because that's just magic, that's just hocus pocus woo stuff, right? Well, no. Quantum physics now has shown all kinds of magic stuff is legitimately scientific. So
legit. I did a session with a lady who works overseas in a country. I won't call it out on the show, but she was like, hey, I saw your show. Jason, is that real? I said, go get something out of your closet, get a purse. Don't tell me what color. Don't tell me anything about it. And put something in the purse. And put it back wherever you want to in the house. And I said, and as you put the item in the purse, think of 4 numbers. Think of 4 numbers. Think of those numbers associated with the item in the purse. And then I said, and then text it to me on WhatsApp. And so she texted me the numbers on WhatsApp. And I went through my process of scientific remote viewing. And when I finished with it, I called her and I said, okay. I said, I know what's in your purse. She was like, okay, I'm ready. I said, this purse has a symbol on it, but I can't read it because it's upside down. Here's my sketch. So I drew 2 upside down G's. And I said, the color is red. I said, but something inside of it is clear, but has something red wrapped around it. She says, get off my phone. I said, what do you mean? She said, it's a water bottle with the red label on it. And the purse is red. I said, okay, I just letting you know that's what I saw when I was going through the process. So scientific remote viewing, some of the remote viewers out there do it for just the clicks. Some of these guys are seriously good at moving their consciousness to different places to get information, just like Edgar Casey moved his consciousness to many parts of our universe. Because he could put himself, like you said, Will, into a hypnotic state,
right,
and move his consciousness. And he was working with the CIA as well. But that's very interesting. I want to ask you guys, and maybe this is for Karen. What have you noticed, Karen, some of the surprising ways that your audience members have engaged with your content or just other people's content on your platform? Whether it's about the activations with their energy, maybe it's a docuseries, maybe it's healing. But have you guys noticed? You're like, okay, thank you for the comment. The way that they're engaging with your channel and your content.
You look like you have something on the top of your mind.
No, I'm thinking more about what the content partners are doing. Things like the one show actually puts electrodes on plants and plays their music, right? For example, but the way people have been using it, I don't know that I've noticed them using it in interesting ways.
I don't either.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know that I think the thing about, I don't know necessarily how maybe they're using it, but I think they feel like it's, I don't know if they feel the energy of it, but I feel like they feel very loyal. Our listeners are very loyal. And I think it's because they really feel that this is just, we aren't trying to get anything from anybody. We don't really monetize our podcast. And so I think that they're kind of spreading the word about it that way. We hear about them sending it to different people. But I think it's like almost like a little home for them.
Well, now that I think about it, we do have, our interview show goes out every Wednesday. We've not missed a week in the 4 years that we've been doing the show, but we also drop every once in a while shorts, like we have this thing called Metaphysical Moment, which does a kind of a 10-minute dive into one particular topic. We also have some meditations or activations and things like that we throw out there. I've read different things on the show. I think the most interesting thing that someone sent to us was a response to a meditation that we had.
Yes.
Right. So she went through the meditation, and then she went through and then went to Spotify and left us a comment about how wonderful the meditation was. That that particular meditation was about connecting with deceased loved ones. And she told us about how she was able to reach someone that had passed in her family that she hadn't been able to had closure with, and that was amazing. And then listed all kinds of other resources that she felt would be helpful to us and our audience right then and there. So it's a collaborative space. It's a place for people to. We do have a community where we a lot of our past guests will do discounts or free services. You can try them out and that kind of stuff. And in there, you can also, there's like a chat thread where you can actually interact with us and each other. And so you might see each other recommending like further discoveries based on that particular topic that we put out there. And that's been really rewarding for me.
And like for me, I think it feels like in these comments that people leave, it feels like they feel like they know us.
Oh, totally.
And when they talk about it, they kind of refer to us almost as if we're friends, which is wonderful, because it's not some person that's out there that, I could never, never talk to them or never meet them, or I could never connect with them. I feel like it's more of like a friendship. Like they feel like, okay, they're my people. Oh, Karen and Will would do this. Oh, they would totally want this. Or, that's
right.
That's how it feels.
And you mentioned authenticity earlier, and I want to go back to that point for a second, because that I think is what another thing that sets NewReality TV apart. Some of our stuff is very highly produced, but the majority of stuff is just these conversations that we're having. We don't have a Greg Braden on in NewReality TV. We don't have a Joe Dispenza. We don't have an Anita Murjani yet. What we do have is regular people going through spiritual awakenings, helping other regular people going through spiritual awakenings. So the authenticity that the message is coming across, because it is people that are going through it themselves, helping other people. They're not celebrities that are talking down to you. These are people that you can relate to, that you can go, that's my people.
And that's a thing, you tend to think about people in this space as being kind of out there, they've got the crazy colored hair and the, flowy skirts and whatnot. But we have, doctors and scientists and computer programmers and, board directors and like all of these regular people. And I like to say, this is becoming very mainstream, but it's still covert mainstream. Everybody's doing it, no one's talking about it. So
Right.
On New Reality, you can see people that are just like you. He's a banker too, or she's an accountant too. Oh, okay. Well, if they're out there, then maybe I can be too.
We also have the flowery purple hair people too, right? We have all kinds of people. So we're not, we're not limiting ourselves. But the point is that you can find your people. Right, we're bringing a whole bunch of things together so that you can find your people, because
and there's not a stigma.
Right. This is very lonely work, right? We were strategically dropped all over the world on purpose because we're meant to activate those that are around us that aren't awakened yet, right? So New Reality TV is a way to get all those people from. This is a global thing. We have partners in Thailand, like Karen said. We have people in Portugal, in
Denmark,
Scotland,
Finland,
in Canada, and Alaska. We have them everywhere in the world because we've been strategically placed. We're bringing all these strategic pinpoints of light together in one place so that we have one place for people to go to access all of these different activations.
And you do have the Joe Dispenzas, you do have the, Billy Carsons, in the regular people. In celebrity status, ourselves doesn't care about that. They care about people who resonate with each other. And that's what this channel does. It resonates. And it's not about a level of who can everybody see us? No, it's about the good people you've put together and you two being at the top of that with great intentions and with love at the center of your heart. And I think that's what makes you guys special.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It is a labor of love. It is a mission. It's a calling.
Yes.
And so it's beautiful to be seen like you are seeing us, because it is really truly what we're trying to do.
Because I'm that person. I mean, I've been doing my show for a while and it's grown slow and I don't care because the people that come on the expansion of consciousness, I'm trying to share the information. I don't have to be noticed and I don't have to be looked at this way and that way. I'm just going to keep doing what my higher self is leading me to see. And I'm happy with that. But hey, I was reading a ton of things about you two. And one thing caught my, one thing in particular that caught my attention. And I was wanting to ask, how did a simple butterfly teach you that we are all connected?
That was one of the pivotal moments of my journey.
Yes.
My brother got married in Colorado, and in his infinite wisdom, he wanted the entire wedding party to go whitewater rafting after the wedding. So it's his wedding. We did it. We were in two different boats. And the Colorado rapids are not mamby-pamby little rapids. These are category 4, category 5 rapids. So before we went down the river, we got the training, and the bejesus scared out of us because someone had drowned the day before in that same river we were going down there. So we were already really scared. So the training was very intense. And so we would go down these rapids, and while we're going down the rapids, you could see that it took pictures of us on the rafts. Because to make matters worse, we're not in the raft; we're on the side of the raft. Right? We're sitting on the edge of the raft. You can fall off at any moment. So we are sheer focus. We are determined to not die and fall off this thing, and we are doing everything, rowing with all of our might to keep us away from the rocks. And it is chaotic, and we're so stressed out. And all of a sudden, the river calms, and you get to this point where it is just peace and nothing but canyon walls around you, and you have a minute to breathe and enjoy the peace that you're feeling after the adrenaline is wearing off just before, oh my God, here we go again. And we're back in the rapids and we're fighting again. And all like, well, after 4 or 5 of those really heavy duty rapid things, we ended up getting to one of those clearings, and it was just this peace. And we're like, all right, we can breathe. And as we were looking around, this unbelievably beautiful monarch butterfly just started flitting around all of us. There's 2 boats that we're in, and everyone was and putting up their finger. They're trying to get the butterfly to land on their finger. And I was laughing because no butterfly is going to land on anyone's finger, especially that wants it that badly, because it's afraid for its life. But something inside me said, I'm going to prove you wrong. Put your finger up. It's going to land on you. Before I knew it, my hand was up, and that butterfly landed right on my finger.
Wow. There's something poetic about a butterfly's symbolism, you know, the metamorphosis that it has to go through, that interconnectedness that they
definitely
deal with, synchronicity.
Yeah. I mean, Wayne Dyer talks about his friend and the butterfly in a very famous conversation he had. This happened before I saw all that stuff. So I was hearing everyone asking, oh my gosh, it's amazing. How'd you get it to land on your finger? I was hearing it in the peripheral, because when that butterfly landed on my finger, everything fell away. All that was in existence was a connection between this butterfly and me, looking at each other. Nothing else existed. And I realized at that point, that exact moment, that everything that existed was one. It was just this.
Wow.
That moment lasted for probably 3 or 4 seconds, but it felt so much longer than that. Eventually the butterfly took off and I came back down to earth. But from that point forward, the rest of the trip, I was in a mind space where I was completely altered. I would look and I saw the people in the other boats, the water, the canyons, everything around me. And I realized this is just another me, another aspect of who I am, what I'm made of. And I've taken that story, that experience with me everywhere I go, because that was truly something that I've never experienced since then or before, but it was powerful enough that I feel the energies now, telling the story again to you, because it was so powerful. It was so all encompassing that I can't even come close to explaining it with words.
That small moment, that shift, it shifted your worldwide view on a grand scale. That is often. And I've read in some of your material that you guys often say that religions have something to teach us, but no single religion holds all the perfect answers. Yeah. Can you expand on why that inclusive perspective is so important?
Yeah.
Well, gosh, there are so many different religions. And if you go way back to the roots of them, I think essentially they are all saying the same thing. However, through the years, through history, through politics, through governments, they have been taken and twisted and distorted and been used in certain times to control people, to create fear. So the religion I believe that we hear today, not all of it, but a lot of it, a lot of the different ideologies aren't really what they were meant to be. So I believe essentially it's all about love. It's about loving and light and community, helping and being of service. And I think with what we have with all of these different modalities, they're all saying the same thing. And whether you want to, we have an example of how you asked earlier about how people use our show. And this wasn't particularly our show, but we have a content creator who she's actually in Denmark, and she works with energy, and she does energy healing in the corporate level. So she goes to boardrooms and she does these, week-long practices, sessions with them. And I think she said she was in Switzerland and she was working with a group, and one of the gentlemen was Muslim, and he was just very much like, this is Satan, or, this is not okay. He was very against it. Well, she's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but just, We have a week. We're all doing this together. So they did the practice. By the end of the week, he came to her and he said, thank you for helping me be a better Muslim. So these beliefs, these ideologies, these systems, these whatever you want to call them, they don't have to exclude each other. I think if we work together with our hearts, they're just essentially going to make us all better people in whatever religion we practice, whatever way we choose to believe, whatever God we choose to follow, whether it's one that's out there or it's one within ourselves or we're all connected or it's not a God or whatever. But I think all of these systems work together to make us better people. To ourselves and to each other.
Yeah. And over the last however many years we're doing the show, we have found so much that just when we think we are about to find the answer, we find that all we've really found are more questions. And my thought process has always been, there's really, this is the truth. This is it. We were looking for that one truth. But when you look at your thumbprint, right? No two thumbprints are alike.
Right.
No two snowflakes are alike. How can we possibly expect the path is singular? In fact, I believe that we will never know the full truth, not until we transition. On this world, we're not meant to, because we're meant to find and do what we're here to do without the knowledge, because then it becomes, if we know it all, it's too easy then. We come here specifically to find our path, to experience ourselves. We're an aperture of the universe experiencing itself. If you think of that, everyone around you is just a little aperture that the universe is experiencing itself with. That gives you a reason why you can't ever have the truth, because it's too vast.
And when you come into that knowledge that we're never going to know it all, it's so freeing.
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly searching and searching and searching and not finding bits and this and one step forward, 50 steps back, it's frustrating and scary and you just want to give up.
Yeah.
But once you realize we're never going to know, and it's beautiful and wonderful, it's this gorgeous kaleidoscope that is always going to change and you can't understand, that's when you really become free.
Right.
And just the sounds, you notice I'm smiling. The information is so pleasing to my frequencies, raising my vibration, and it's lovely. But I'm gonna pin you guys to the wall. You have to give me one of these modalities, from energy healing to channeling. And I know that you've explored a number of different modalities, but can you find or think of one to you too that are the most undeniable proof that there's more to this world than our 3D existence?
I am starting to tiptoe into the world of channeling.
Okay, let's go.
And I have never spoken about this before.
No, this is the first. All right. I'm proud of you.
The only one. But I told you I would start putting it out there.
Right.
And it hasn't happened frequently. But when it does, it's this surge of just energy and love. And you can feel every inch of your skin and every pore on your body. And all these answers kind of going through your head, and the speed, and it's so fast. And I mean, I'm not that smart. It can't be me.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
But it's
and your vessel is handling this energy that's coming in. You're like, what in the crap is going on?
Yes. And when I talked to Will after the fact, I'm like, well, I mean, I could have just been making that up. And he says, well, it doesn't sound like you. The words are different than what you would use. The intonation is different. And he said, I physically start to look differently. So that's the newest kind of thing going on that I'm starting to actually try to. I believe in channeling. I just don't. Is it me? You know what I mean? It's like other people can do it, and I totally believe that.
We channel every
Can it
day.
be me?
But we channel every day. I mean, songwriters, the information that's coming to write the song. We're not. Our consciousness is not local. It's being beamed in. So any thought, any aha. No, we're not the smartest people. We're not. This information is always channeled from somewhere. What do you think, Will?
No, I agree 100%. I am a firm believer in that, what you just said. What I've always had a struggle with is we've interviewed the very first few channelers that we had on the show that were trans channelers were difficult for me to go, this is real. I mean, it they completely transform.
Mm.
We had a young woman in from London who channels the
Galila
Galila Collective, right? There's a collective of entities. And when she channeled them on the air, she altered. She was a different person. She had an accent. She seemed older.
And her
She was
hand was
right.
doing stuff.
And at first, I gotta be honest. At first, I was like, I'm not hip to this. This is really uncomfortable. I don't know, like, because I just didn't feel right to me because it was so strange. It was so foreign. Well, over, fast forward now 4 years, and now someone says they're going to channel on a show. I'm like, let's go, let's bring it on, because wow, I've seen it in Karen. And at times I see it in Karen, it is undeniable because it's in front of my eyes. And she literally takes on a different persona. It is a different thing. And it's not just one. There's various different entities that come through her. And I can always tell when they're here because she's different. And I know this is not Karen in front of me. Just by a look. She doesn't have to say a word. She just looks over at me and I go, oh, they're here. Right. So that's one thing that's completely changed in me from before.
Karen, can I say one thing to you? The higher self allows this to happen. It's not you. It's the higher self is allowing you to reach the frequency for information, for wisdom. So don't be afraid of it and allow the words to come through. And they're there. Because I've had many channels on the show, and they're just coming. You need to ask yourself, what lesson am I to learn from this? Why me? Because the higher self controls everything about you. And it allows you to dream, and it puts the dreams inside of the memory. You have the dream, but it's not because it's you. It's the higher self, the subconscious mind that's putting it there. So if you're able to reach the frequency of these beings to then translate the message through the vessel, why? That's the question.
That is
Why
the
me?
question.
Yes.
And I will say it's because she's an angel walking on this earth, and her real self is coming through. That's exactly what's happening. I'll tell you that what it is.
It's for a reason. It's for you to do something with it. Maybe you're going to share something down the line once you get more confident in your skills, and you guys define this. I was reading more. You have defined this movement and that you're building as a revolution of frequency. And I just want to know, how do you guide newcomers toward this oneness and this spiritual alignment without overwhelming them with it?
I think the first thing that we need to help people to do, which is very, very difficult, is to drop judgment.
Yes.
And the best way I guess I can help is actually from a book that I read by the Dalai Lama, and it's The Art of Happiness. And he's talking about, all kinds of amazing things. But the one thing that really stuck with me was when he's talking about, if someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of getting angry at them and thinking, oh, what a jerk, that's your knee-jerk reaction, think, oh my gosh, what if their son's in the hospital? Or what if they just found out that, their house is on fire? You never know what is going on in their life. So instead of immediately jumping to the conclusion that they are, just doing this to harm me or to slow me down, or because they have to be first, think, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on with them, but I wish them the best. And thank goodness I don't have that hardship right now. And once you start kind of putting that into play in everything, not just in traffic, but the person that bumps into you at the grocery store or whatever, even if it's just for yourself, it makes everything much more pleasant. And I think it makes you a more loving person. Because there's this thing on social media that I had reposted, and it said something about, I love you. It just says, I love you. And hey, if people can hate for no reason, then why can't I love for no reason? So just trying to promote, dropping that judgment and looking with love, giving that compliment to the cashier who has, crazy purple and green hair, and just say, they worked hard on that. They like that, hey, your hair is really cool looking. That's making their day. And was it hard for you? Did it cost you anything? No, but maybe they'll have a nicer day and be nicer to someone else, and it spreads like wildfire. So those are the things that I would, and kind of once you get into that space, it's much more easy to accept the beauty of all of these new things that you've never experienced before, because they are beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's magic. It's magic.
Yeah. Open yourself up for sure. Like allow the magic to come in, because if you allow the magic to come in, it will, and it's going to get even more serious. Like it's going to get serious in there, because it happened to me for a long time. I had a, prove it mentality. Yeah, prove it. Yeah, this is real. Prove it. Over the course of however many years now, my prove it mentality, I've gone from prove it to, all right, show me more. Right? It's just a very slight shift, but it makes all the difference. I would say the fastest way to wrap your arms around everything is to allow yourself the privilege, or the luxury is a better word, of not needing to know everything. You don't need to know. If you accept the fact that I'm not going to be able to know everything, I'm not going to be right about everything, I am not going to win at everything. And if you allow yourself the grace to just be and not have the necessity to win all the time or to be right all the time, and you allow yourself the grace to just say, I'm going to let myself be wrong. When someone comes at you with a different way of thought, your first thought is always, oh no, that's wrong because this. If you give yourself the grace to be wrong, you go, okay, tell me more. And then that diffuses everything and tells the universe, oh, I think they're ready. Let me show them this, because now they don't have to be right that this isn't possible. Now I can show you this little thing and see if you still really mean it when you say you don't have to be right. And if you say, okay, I see that, show me more, it's going to keep showing you more. Before you know it, you're going to be knee deep into this stuff. I'm telling you, because it happened to me.
The epitome of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I just want to thank you guys today for being a gracious couple guests on the expansion of consciousness. And Will, the light inside of you is shining. I can feel the frequency of love.
Thank you.
The spirit is just resonating with me. And this wonderful expression of love that I can see both of you. And Karen, she sort of came on at the end where I'm going to tell you about my channeling. And she was holding back, but she felt safe. And this is what the expansion of consciousness is about, is allowing people to feel safe. And I want to give you guys an opportunity to, is there anything that you like to share with the audience before we end the show?
You go first.
I think the most important thing for me is to get across that life is so serious, right? There's so many things coming at us, especially nowadays. There's so much stuff happening in the world right now that is designed to keep us down. All it takes is for you to open yourself up and know that everything that's happening to you is happening to you for your greater good. It's there for a reason. It's going to help you to evolve. I have one of my favorite sayings is growth happens at the edge of our comfort zone, right? So allow yourself to get out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way that you're going to grow. If you are stuck in, this is the way it's always been, this is the way I've always done things, then you're always going to be right where you are right now. And that fear-based stuff that's being thrown your way, that's going to get you nowhere but down. If you instead allow yourself to say, I'm open to whatever comes my way, it's going to help you to see the good in what's happening as you evolve. And before you know it, all that stuff, it won't be able to touch you anymore.
Awesome.
And I would say that it's all a choice. You can choose to believe or not. You can choose to fear something or be excited about the potential. I choose to understand that I don't know most things, and I choose love. And I try to walk in that space because for me, it makes life so much better.
Wow.
But choose love.
We are free-willed humans, and love is at the center of everything. I want to thank you guys for being on the expansion of consciousness. Do not go anywhere. I'm going to move you to the back, but I'm going to close this show out, and there'll be some more wonderful things said about you. So stay there. Don't go anywhere.
That's all you have to say. We're on board.
Okay, 1 second. I'm at a loss for words. And just an incredible partnership. I just want to thank them so much, Will and Karen, for taking us on this wild, mind-blowing ride from sickness defying to and I got someone trying to call in while we're talking, but this sickness defying healing that to the birth of a new consciousness platform that these two have built, that's just so exciting. And you've shown us why consciousness media isn't just entertainment, it's a revolution of frequency that can literally shift into reality. And I want you guys, if you're this conversation, if it resonated or ignited something in you, head over to NewRealityTV.com, NewRealityTV.com, or download the New Reality TV app. Just so you can explore the docuseries, the energy activations, the quantum healing channels, and never seen before spiritual interviews that they have there. And join the community of seekers, teachers, and creators, because Will and Karen have proven the next frontier of awakening is just a click away. And if you love this episode of Expansion of Consciousness, be sure to subscribe and leave a review and share your answers and your questions. And so I want you to follow us, and all you fellow explorers can catch the next wave of this wonder. And the next time, remember, keep your heart open, keep your minds curious, and your frequencies high. And until the next time, keep expanding your mind, questioning what you think you know, and remembering who you really are. And remember, always trust, relax, and discover. Thank you so much for joining us on the Expansion of Consciousness. Good night. All right.